Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL, or Reading Between the Lines. If you watched my part 1 of the update preview notice for the Epic 7 World Championship, the post-match reveal, if you watch that video of my coverage on it, then you would probably appreciate this one as well. So this Q&A was given to us as a video format at the end of the event on the day 2 of the RTA tournament. And a lot of the Q&A actually in the video, it's like, it's well edited. There's a lot of work in the explanation, but a lot of the information is actually it was not available in terms of like the written format that we're about to cover here. So that I think the written format is probably more important to cover, since all the points in the video are covered, but there's more information actually here in the written format. I didn't know that before, but people were telling me that, so I definitely think that it's worth taking a look at the entire thing. If you did miss the live stream and missed all the stuff anyway, and if you're watching this for the first time, then you'll appreciate at least some of the stuff that they've collected. So basically there are 18 like major, I would say, categories that Epic 7 decided to kind of categorize all the questions, or all the questions that they want to answer at this point. 18 categories, so we're going to go through each one. So the first point that they decided to talk about is gold. So as you can see in the questions here, are there any plans to increase the places where gold can be obtained? Are there any plans to reduce in-game gold consumption? So they looked at the analysis, and they're basically saying that, okay, most of the gold is disappearing because of crafting. And while I say I definitely agree in terms of, if you're a player and you're moving your gear all the time, it just means that you're not ready to do whatever content you're supposed to do. Take benefit or take advantage of the free gear event, or the free gear scrolls that are now given like once a month every time we get those web events. So take advantage of those things. If you need to, let's say, conquer specific abyss floors or something like that. But outside of that, you should not be using your gold anywhere else. Maybe refreshing the secret shop, but that's a whole other issue. But most of it is definitely the equipment crafting, equipment enhancing. It consumes 50% to 60% of the gold. That's what their analysis say. I definitely have to say that's on point in terms of like, I farm quite a bit. All the end game players who are trying to compete, they most of the time they have to farm quite a bit, and a lot of the times it's the gold, it just disappears. Now the thing that I wanted to suggest definitely is that if Smilegate will look into the gold obtained and being able to potentially sell crafting material. The issue that they said in the video, which is actually not really described in this writing here, this text, is that there's this question of like, well, if I keep hunting, if you keep farming at the rate you're farming, there's a point, depending on your habits, all right? So this is a whole other thing, depending on your habits, on what kind of gear you roll, what kind of gear you invest in, like what level, like are you doing with a high gear score, low gear score? Are you doing that? Like, are you actually calculating min-max rolls? You might see a position where that you will have less gold, like through a crafting session where you're enhancing and you're crafting at the same time. You might see your gold dip below your crafting materials, and therefore you have too much crafting materials and not enough gold. I know there are other players that have the other problem, but if the other problem would not affect their change here. But the point is that if they allow us to monetize on anything that is dropped, so we can sell gear for gold. If you could sell crafting materials, that'd be great too. Like, so for example, crafting materials from like golem hunts, or any hunts that you don't need right now, but you're able to get some gold out of it, I think that would help a bit. But regardless, their solution, of course, is just straight to the point. They're basically going to reduce the equipment crafting cost by 50%. So originally it was like 50% from where it was, and then now they might do this again. In the video, they said that it will be changed after the 527 update, which is upcoming, but if delayed, it will be at a later June update. So hopefully it doesn't get delayed. So in the video, there's no possibility of the June thing. I think it was just straight up like, oh, 527 it'll be applied. Very, very ambitious, but it shouldn't be too hard unless they have bugs that will come about this change. I'm not quite sure. second measure that they want to do is definitely the equipment enhancing cost, and of course I'm on board with this. I mean, if you're an experienced player and you're hearing this, you're just like, you're nodding your head. This is just the case. In terms of the economy, it doesn't make sense. You're gonna be inflated with something over another, and the balance is off. It's not exactly, to me, it's not exactly just the cost is high, it's like the balance is off. You won't like ever get enough charms to be able to enhance enough equipment that you're supposed to get, and so they're seeing this as a problem, which is perfect. This means that they're aware, they're keen, and they're actually studying the numbers or the analysis that they're claiming that they're, you know, making these changes on. So that's a really, really good sign. It's just that they're always monitoring player habits, monitoring what's actually going on. And I definitely have to say, like, I mean, if you guys watch my videos, you guys know that I'm pretty picky now about gear. I mean, I didn't used to be, but I am now. I have video series on, you know, how to min-max gear and all that stuff. So you guys know from that point, I'm telling you guys that it definitely needs an upgrade, and they are addressing it perfect. So equipment enhancement costs now proportional to experience required enhancement. So since it dramatically increases +9, like after the +9, so the +12 and +15, which is true, it scales up really high. Decreasing the experience required will reduce the gold cost, and of course that's straightforward. So that's a very, very welcome change. I mean, no one should be complaining about it, of course, and looking forward to this as well. I definitely think that if you're watching this video before 527, I would definitely be like on the, how do you say it? Like, don't go ham, right? Like we at the point of this recording, we just had this like really long hunt buff event, and I did like a crafting session of like 40 million gold the other day. I'm not even halfway through, but I was gonna do it on another day until I saw these updates or potential updates upcoming, and I'm just like, you know what? Over time, you know, unless you're crafting and gearing for something really specific that you need right now, I would definitely be patient. Just sit on it for now, and then wait for the update, because I mean the 50% gold cost reduction and then the enhancement cost reduction is going to be a huge thing in my opinion. So yeah, so with this improvement, we expect to relieve gold scarcity issues and concerning regarding equipment crafting and enhancing. Once confirmed, we will give more details regarding this to a notice. So the thing is though, like, we do have to understand, like, this is a separate topic, not from what they're dealing with. What they're dealing with here is 100%, like, everybody's gonna accept it. Everybody's gonna love it. The issue is, like, of course, in the future, everybody's gonna still say gold cost is too high, or have, you know, remove gear re-equipping gold cost or whatever. But, I mean, they had a reason, like, back in year 1, a very good reason of why they want the gear cost in terms of removal and replacing gear to remain, and it's always because that they want the player to be farming, right? So I agree with that. I think that's fine that they don't need to remove it, and the crafting part is us pushing forward, not us just, like, you know, taking the same RB gear, putting on another hero, and then showing it off on Discord, and then putting on another hero. It's like, look at my new Spectenny, look at my new RB, look at my new Remnant Violet, and they share the same set, right? Like, this is pushing forward. So they're looking at the progression system that they have right now, and how is that hindering the progression of the players. And this is exactly addressing the point. So definitely love this. All right, so point 2, energy. Are there any plans to increase the places where energy can be obtained and reduce the amount of energy actually required? So, I mean, a couple things. If you were a day 1, week 1 player like me, you would know that the quality of life changes, all of the changes, like, up to this point has been, like, it's all been positive, all right? It's all been really positive. And for newer players jumping into the game right now, man, you guys have it good, right? Especially post-update. So yeah, so I mean, they're still looking into it. It's very good. If you guys watched the first part of my video covering the update preview notice, then you would have seen this as well. But in case you didn't watch that video, it's fine. 25% reduction energy consumed in the side story. It means that the shop, or getting the clearing out your side story shop, is going to be much easier, which means you don't need to run as much. So it's going to be really, really beneficial. I mean, 25% is huge, especially if you're going to, you know, use it on side stories. And yeah, they say it here, increase the side story currency for the difficult stages, so that means less energy consumed. And then achievements, reduce the number of clear stages required to complete all the achievements. So yeah, so basically the entire event is much shorter in terms of the amount of repeats you need to do. So that's very nice. And the second thing, and this was not covered in the update preview notice, but it is previewed here in the Q&A, so that's very cool. So 10 to 20% reduction in energy consumed in hunt. So that's awesome, because that's the main portion of the game at the moment, and this is going to occur at the 5.27 update. And I do hope that this is in conjunction with their plan for the gold cost one, so that the energy saving that you do here will end up being, you know, more gear for you, and also more enhanced gear for you as well. So I mean, that's fantastic. So you can see here the chart to display the before and after, which is good. But I mean, if you're end game, you definitely look at hunt 13. So a 10% decrease is very good. So 20 energy. So it's gonna be the same as, well, actually no, it's still more than expedition, but expedition just recently got energy reduction as well, and a further energy reduction in terms of a repeat fight. Like if you go through it multiple times, if you have to enter it multiple times to take out the boss, you are reducing energy each time. So that's very nice. Furthermore, and this was not seen, I don't believe this was seen in the video, the Q&A portion, but the previous energy was 1 energy per 5 minutes, which means 12 energy per hour, which means that in 24-hour span you get 288 energy a day, so for free, right? This is you know, sometimes I see some players come on the stream. I know you might be new, you may be mid-game. I always see the energy capped, and what I mean by that is that the energy is like, somehow like they received all the mailbox energy or their daily energy, so like their energy is at, like, you know, 500 out of 144. Don't do that, guys. I mean, just with the calculation, like here, you get free energy every day, 288 free energy. That's a couple runs now, especially with the reduction here. But then now they're gonna change this to that 1 energy every 4 minutes. You know, Epic 7 is always doing something right, all right? So I mean, people can say that they're always doing something wrong too, but this is really good. So I haven't actually played a gacha game without the energy being at like 5 minutes. Like the 5 minute thing, like maybe you get 2 energy per 5 minutes, but the 5 minute thing is like a standard thing. It's because I guess 5 is easier for people to divide. But now they're gonna do this for every 4 minutes. So what that means is that every hour you get 15 energy, and in a full day 24-hour span you get 360 energy. Very nice compared to 288, of course. And so yeah, so if you're watching this and maybe you are an experienced player or you've played for a while but your energy is capped, trust me, like when you want to play the game seriously, you don't want your energy capped. You want every single free energy possible, because it really adds up, man. Every day 360 energy going to waste if you leave your energy capped. So definitely do not do that if possible. I remember I had like one flight overseas before. It was like a 13-hour flight, and I was super like stressed. I even wanted to purchase the in-flight Wi-Fi in order to grind my energy. Okay, anyways, so Jagan might have a problem, but anyways, let's move on to MolaGora and the friendship level increase items. Alright, so the question, are there the plans to increase any or in the places where the MolaGora can be obtained? Are there any, or are there the plan? Okay, I think there's some issues. Anyways, reduce the amount of required MolaGora, and then any plans to regularly provide the items within the friendship to increase the friendship level. So yeah, so far we have like kind of like 2 systems. One I would say is a subsystem. So with the MolaGora, they've addressed this multiple times, and I think every year, because as the demand for more heroes actually is like a really good requirement and very important requirement for things like World Arena, RTA, especially with these big tournaments like $50,000. Like it's too big that Smilegate can't just be like, oh no, you guys fend for yourself. Like take the MolaGora really slowly and not have any access to any of the new heroes. Of course they could do that in terms of, from a company perspective, they could force players to be very handicapped unless it's pay to win, right? But Epic 7 keeps looking into ways that, like, you know, obviously they're a business, they gotta make the money, so there's always gonna be whales, and especially this kind of stuff. this kind of stuff, this kind of improvement, it actually incites people to want to pay. There's a thing about like human psychology where people are just like, you know, they feel like they want to give money to people who deserve it, right? This is kind of like the guy that's homeless on the street, like has a cardboard sign, but he's wearing like this like suede jacket or whatever, but he's not doing anything for it, versus like someone maybe has, you know, I've seen it before, like on the street, like he's lost his like arms and legs, but he's like playing the harmonica, right? He's like earning it, right? So like, I know that's a really bad example, I'm very grim, but what I mean is that Epic 7 is not, you know, they're making decisions where just saying like, yeah, they're really caring about the players and keeping the players like happy, you know, while balancing like, yeah, they got to release the ML5s, they got to release powerful kits, so you know, people will pull for it, right? And then perhaps, you know, spend a bit of money in it. But I mean, they're not afraid to also give us more, and this is a really good thing. Again, I do not see many gacha games doing this kind of stuff. They're just like up front, they're just trying to greed for it like right away. And I really like how Epic 7, Smilegate as a company, they're just like humbling themselves and saying that okay, what's the how far can we push back here? How far can we push back and allow the players, especially the free-to-play ones, to gain more from the game? Like, they're spending the time on it, but how can we help them to gain more? And I love that thinking. So regardless, let's keep going. So yeah, so MolaGora has always been an issue. The subsystem was the friendship one, which it did help a bit. Yeah, so anyways, long story short, 20 to 25% reduction after, so before you get about 28 a month, and after you get up to about 36. And they explained the areas will be affected. So the web event will a monthly, you'll have 2 going forward, so this is good. Everything else stays the same, so obviously they're not going crazy, they're not overcompensating for the fact that people are complaining about Mola, but they are slowly increasing, and I think that's a good way to do it too, because they don't necessarily need the game to be over power crept, and then people are just like, I mean, look, the quicker you get the Mola, the quicker players will make a decision in investing in the wrong hero anyway. One of the Q&A question was just like, well, could you guys refund, like, do you guys plan to have MolaGora refundable from a hero? And you know, the more I see the balance patches, the less and less I think that that's necessary. It's just because over time, like, yeah, maybe Luna hasn't gotten a buff. I mean, she got an EE, but didn't really count as a buff. She hasn't gotten a buff, and hey, I'm one to say that. Like, if anyone, I'm one to say that I got 2 pretty much triple S Luna sitting there, and I mean, she's not. I mean, other than PvE, and even in PvE, she's not the most reliable. Like, I would be one that would want that Mola back, right? But because of how they balancing it, and because they're still giving us more MolaGora, you know what? I'm okay with that, right? It's fine. But I know that there will always be people who are just like, oh man, I plus 15 this hero, but I regret it. I don't have the gear for it, or you know, they're not meta anymore. But yeah, just kind of look at the balance patches. It's pretty good. So anyways, the side story you get up to 4 to 6, and in the check-ins you get 4. So originally it's 2 per month, so 0.5 per week, and you get 1 now per week. And then the screenshot here shows basically it's your check-in reward that you get every week. You get a MolaGora, all right, on the 5th day, 12th day, 19th day, 26th day. So very nice improvement. I don't actually remember what slot is there. To be honest, I don't, like, when I do that check-in things, I don't look at like, ooh, tomorrow's the, you know, Covenant Bookmark Day or whatever. Like, I actually don't remember it, to be honest, which is good. It's just like, I just take that kind of stuff in. So yeah, so this will be applied at the 527 again. Everything is aligning, most of the stuff is aligning to the 527 update, which will be a big one. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's going to be a maintenance day, and it's going to be a big maintenance day, if anything. So, yeah, so the friendship level thing, I did talk about this in the preview video as well, the update preview notice. So they're basically going to have the lanterns or the friendship leveling things returning more often, especially in the side story. But definitely they said, you know, tap here to see the update, the preview notice. But you know, if you watch that video, you know what I'm talking about. Let's move on to equipment system. Are there any plans to improve equipment sets with low pick rates? Modification gem improvements. Are there any plans to increase the place the modification gems can be obtained? And then what do we do with the modification gems that are not used? So they're talking about changing the sets, improving the sets, maybe update in June. Perhaps in June, prioritizing injury set and revenge set. That's an interesting one. I definitely have some stuff to talk about there. Yeah, and then they're also checking if other sets can be improved in a similar time frame. So in terms of like, people are saying like, improve the golem set. In my opinion, like I said this before, I worked out this kind of formula. And I shared this on stream. I never really did it on video. So if you're watching this and you're hearing this for the first time, just see if I have some credibility for this. In terms of like, what golem provides, the health set, defense set, and attack set, we do have to see that, the 15% health, 50% defense, and then 30% attack. We have to see that in the light of the I-90 meta, in terms of like when you're substat reroll, well, not when you're substat rerolling, when you're rerolling the gear for the actual stats itself, like how high do they go, right? So because of that 90 gear, it increases the amount of the value of the substats in terms of like if you roll a health, you're gonna gain like 3 health on the first roll and an additional 1 per roll, or is it per 2 per roll? Anyways, you're basically skyrocketing those stats, and therefore completing those sets ends up not being so worth it. Whereas speed set, because you're gaining on average, if your hero is about 100 speed, you're gaining on average about 25 speed, because it's 25% of the base speed. So if it's 25% of the base speed, that's like 5 rolls of speed out of 5. If you calculate it out of 4, like 4 speed roll in terms of your calculation for a max speed roll is 4, then 25 speed is more than just 5 rolls. But then if you look at attack set, let's say it's 30%, at an I-90, the attack is usually at a 9% per roll. So in terms of like, that's like about like 3 rolls, maybe 4 rolls, but not even fully 4. Do you know what I mean? So like that's basically how I would work it out. And obviously the devs, if they're watching this, I mean, they don't need to take this formula, but in my opinion, that's a kind of nice place to start. So like I would say like attack sets would then need to be, whatever equivalent I-90 is, and then multiply by the same as the speed set. So in this case, I would say, let's say 5 rolls, so 45% attack. So attack set should be 45%, and then the health sets, because they're only double sets unless you go for quad set, so double, like 2 health sets, 2 defense sets, they need to be calculated accordingly as well, just based on the roll. So basically health is at a 9% on an I-90. Yes, I know the initial roll is more, but let's just say it's 9, right? So 9%, but the completing the health sets, even though it's 2 piece, that's technically only like 2 rolls of health, less than 2 rolls of health, because 9 plus 9 is 18, so you're already lowering that by a ton. So like basically you just have to reverse calculate that in terms of the golem set, and they don't need to change many functions, just the actual stats that is gained from the sets. See, because if it's at 45% or more than 45% attack, for example, the attack set might be good on heroes that need high attack. Like you actually be able to compete with like the speed set, because in terms of the stat, the value is about the same. Right, so it ends up being like that would make more sense. The injury set and revenge set, this is why I think is very interesting, is that obviously they're trying to push KDs. Penetration set works outside of, like, right out of the box, right? Because ignoring 10% defense on a single target skill, ignoring 10% defense will scale with the meta, right? Because like as your defense gets higher, if let's say in the future there's like I-92 equipment and the values of defense go high, even higher, 10% of whatever you end up with is still 10%, so it scales up fine, so that doesn't need to be touched. Most people are already, if they can get like a very lucky world boss drop, or they extract a penetration set from world boss and then end up converting a pretty good one, people are already converting to it. I mean, it's no brainer. With I-90 gear, it's easier to get crit rate as well, so like completing a crit set may not always be better than completing a penetration set, again depending on the hero you have. So for example, like C-Dom, because she self crit rate buffs, like she can easily go pen set, and she's also single target only. So injury set and revenge set needing that work is very interesting to me. Definitely pushing the KD's hunt for like more mainstream, because I think that the analysis is telling them just not enough people are farming the hunt, right? And it makes sense because right now they're underwhelming. Revenge set is not as good as speed set for most heroes. Like, any of the heroes that have been theory crafted on revenge set, speed set end up just being more consistent. So it will be interesting to see what they will do in terms of the changes to make them actually viable or make them unique enough. Lifesteal set and counter set from the Banshee hunts, I would say destruction set is pretty bad at the moment. Again, if you calculate rules, destruction set is better than attack set because it's at 40%. But the counter set and lifesteal set in the I-90 meta, they got a new place to shine, because with the new increase in stats, they're able to get to the speed threshold that is usually needed for like a hero, a bruiser hero that's on a speed set, but then getting the additional effects of life stealing, like for Remnant Violet, or counter set like for Fire Ravi, A Ravi, etc, etc. So very interesting. Like those sets are like pretty good. So injury set and revenge set will definitely be something that I am curious about, like what they want to do. Are they going to keep the functions exactly the same and just increase the value? So in terms of like the injury, like the percent of the injury dealt, and the revenge, like the stats increase at a higher percent. That would be interesting, and of course we will see soon, but definitely my comments there in terms of like where the gear and the sets are at the moment. However, the set's greatly favored game is the speed second, or is a long time farming equipment, and the hero combination for Wyvern, one of the most important objectives in the game, will gradually improve the set's options so the experience of the equipment sets do not change dramatically. And like I said, I get what they're talking about, right? Like they don't want to alienate 95%, 99% of the gaming population in terms of the people who farm Wyvern over something like maybe Banshee or Golem, Wyvern or Banshee, and just because, like, you know, but I think they're a bit on the cautious side, which I think is okay, because basically it's like we already have the game the way it is right now. It's harder to overcompensate and make all the sets really broken, and then seeing like, oh, this is actually imbalanced, than people who spend all the energy on Wyvern. It could be an excuse that they're giving themselves. It could be. But I am seeing it from their shoes in terms of like, yeah, the repercussions could be way bigger. So it's like, it's better to have maybe multiple stages of this kind of rebalancing of the sets would be the better approach, right? Because again, we have what we have right now. Everybody's living through it. Everybody's living with it. And so yeah, that would be interesting change for sure. Next thing, leveling difficulty. I was kind of surprised that this was a question really that they wanted to tackle, but I think it's because they already had prepared a lot, so that's why they took on this question, and then, you know, so that they would have an answer for it. Anyways, it's mostly talked about in the update preview notice anyway, so if you haven't checked out the update preview notice, definitely do that. It's not as big of a deal to me, but of course every bit helps. Basically, you can lower some energy costs and stuff like that, and time spent in like side stories. And then the balancing of this one is important. They have addressed this multiple times actually. I'm curious why they wanted to address it again, but maybe it's just to like kind of calm the questions. So basically the questions that they have chosen are there any plans to reduce the balance adjustment cycle? So I guess like having it quicker, and then the what are the criteria for selecting hero, the balance adjustment, and are there any plans to increase the number of exclusive equipment released? So first thing they talked about is the balance adjustment for the certain heroes, and they basically wanted to say that like they can't really speed it up, and I do agree. It's just if you try to work out one hero to be buffed the way you want it, it's gonna affect every other hero and how it interacts with the hero that you want buffed. So in my opinion, from a lot of the, you know, end game players that I've talked to, like they're okay with the balance cycle, to be honest, like the balance adjustment cycle. In my opinion, it's actually pretty fast. I definitely have to say it feels pretty fast. So like the very fact that they can, you know, month after month, even though some of them are, I would say, less exciting, most of them are pretty game changing in terms of like, it definitely shakes up the meta maybe for 1 or 2 weeks, and then there's the dust settles, and then there's like 1 or 2 that really stand out from a certain batch. So for example, in the past, Briar Witch Assyria, Desert Jewel Bazaar, these 2, and May Chloe coming up, and I think May Chloe's is going to be pretty big as well. So I definitely think that that the speed at which they're already balancing is already quick enough. So I definitely, you know, agree with them in terms of like, no, they can't do it because it would just mess up a lot of stuff. Yeah, so the analyze, I mean, they literally did talk about this before. I really am surprised they re-brought up these questions, but again, like I said, it's probably just to extra solidify on that they haven't changed their philosophy when dealing with the balance adjustments. Accelerate the pace, and then increase the number of exclusive equipment. And it's the same thing is, honestly, I think that yeah, see, we'll try by addressing this issue by releasing 3 exclusive equipment at once, if possible, from the 610 update. We're currently not considering exclusive equipment for Moonlight 5 stars and the specially changed heroes. So, I mean, that's at least for now. That could be for quite a while. But the same thing with the EEs, in my opinion, is that the EEs are almost like balance adjustment, almost, but it's that you can swap the function of a certain skill or a certain kit like on the fly. So until they rebuff an EE that is not really effective, like it's as hard to do as balancing a hero, right? The thing is though, like they can rebalance artifacts, they can rebalance the equipment, like exclusive equipment, they can rebalance the heroes. There's like multiple things that they can rebalance in order to obtain balance. So this one's a pretty big one, Conquest points and charms. So they plan to expand the Conquest points, the acquisition of the Conquest points and charms through first the achievement. So you can actually get some through the reputation, as you can see here in the preview, reach bronze 1 league and arena, and then you get some already. That will be, of course, like kind of a once like thing. So like once you get it, you kind of it's done. The longer lasting changes, of course, is good. So we'll discount the price of the stuff that's in the shop. I believe it's just the equipment, yeah, just equipment, by 10%. So the heirs have less stress acquiring Conquest points, and over time the outdated arena equipment will be sold at a maximum of 70% discount. In my opinion, that's very, very nice, because there are definitely some questionable gear in the arena. Like I don't always empty out my shop like anymore, because like it's just at this point the arena 88s are lower score, like they roll lower than the Hell Raid 88s. And with the I-90 gear, it's like you really won't use your arena equipment unless it rolls super high, for one. And the second thing is that unless you don't have that set gear. So for example, like a counter set, you don't have much counter gear because you don't farm Banshee, and you got this very awesome counter sword. And then so that would be good. So for players like me who don't really buy it out, we could probably just wait for the outdated stuff, like just make it outdated and then buy it at a 70% discount. It's because sometimes I feel that I'm just clearing it out, not because I want the gear, it's just because my OCD kicks in and I just want to clean up the shop. Like I buy everything in the shop in terms of the Conquest points. Thirdly, they wanted to have a buff item for Conquest points, so kind of like the scrolls we've been getting in our dailies. The reputation of the dailies get like an extra gold increase for like an hour or whatever. Maybe it's exactly the same thing, but the thing is, like, upon activating can be obtained during a designated period unless you are refreshing your arena. I wonder how long that period is, you know? Like if you are like me and you use your arena flags and only the free arena flags, like the ones you get with the friendship bookmarks, or are these the friendship bookmarks, whatever, those leaf clover looking things, unless you're only going like the free to play, like you're gonna get some back, but in my opinion you're not gonna get a lot back. For people who use this maybe during arena rush hour, if they're pushing high end in arena, this might be good just to have on, because you're spamming it anyway. You may as well getting more conquest points out of it, so that's kind of cool. Then yeah, so they basically want to facilitate new heirs entering arena. They want to basically again onboard them, provide this item through events to minimize negative effects to balance, and I hope this end it will benefit both newcomers and current heirs who require the currency. And last but not least, they will decrease the rates of low level equipment drop by side story, which this is covered in their update preview notice as well. and the increase the rates of the charms drop so that areas can be more easily acquire charms. I think there's an actual percent number. I think it's like a 25% increase if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the drop rate of charms over like a low level fodder. So that's very nice, since conquest points at the end of the day is really where we get our left side gear and boot charms. And so they're fixing that. I mean, I didn't have to really even make a video about it, talking about it, but that is definitely a place where we were lacking for a while. They have increased it and improved it over time actually, but now for sure it's just gonna be even better, more streamlined. So very nice. So hero releases and summons. So are there any plans to improve the difficulty acquiring Moonlight heroes and Moonlight Elemental summon tickets? And will more heroes be added to the hero rotation cycle for the coin shop, drop rate up event? And then are there any plans to shorten the drop rate up event cycle? Will improvements be made for the group summoning system? Will you release different types of heroes and share the summon schedule for already released heroes? So some of the formatting is a bit different here and like inconsistent, so sometimes a bit hard to read. So the first one that they wanted to cover was the elemental summon tickets and Moonlight, basically Moonlight heroes first. So the Moonlight hero, they're adding the connection. We talked about that in my update preview notice video. Very, very hype stuff, of course, like the Arbiter Vogid, Dark Corvus, ML Ken, Specteni, Ruel, and Judge Kisei being the 6 that you could potentially choose. And then, you know, after unlocking the connection stuff, you get to own them and use them in all areas of the game. Our heirs have acquired about the elemental summons, the dark light elements, and yes, this has been a long time since we've had elemental summons for over a year now, and we've always seen the dark and light, but we never knew how to get them, right? So we're currently planning to add them as a reward to a new content schedule for the 3rd quarter, and then we will also add them to the list of purchasable items in the coin shop. So okay, I'll talk about that in a bit. So we will add more details about this via notices. So the adding the coin shop is pretty smart. So basically what you're doing is getting, like, it's probably gonna be cheaper, but then of course you are risking RNG of pulling a 4-star ML hero and out of a pool of, you know, all the MLs that you potentially have right now. So in terms of like, it'll be divided of course between dark and light, because if you're able to purchase light and dark elementals, you'll most likely be able to choose one or the other, but the pool is split between dark and light elemental, but the 5-star and the 4-star. So it'll probably be at a cheaper price, but you're risking the RNG of not getting what you want. Whereas the coin shop, if you just wait long enough, you'll be able to get the one you want, right? So it's gonna be kind of interesting, and then just having it as a reward for a content scheduled in the 3rd quarter, it will be kind of interesting there to see as well. Like, is that reward RNG based? But there's a lot of stuff because there's basically saying that they're planning to. So there's no hard date. Very vague at the moment, but we'll see updates when they get them. Will more heroes be added to the rotation cycle for the coin shop? They're planning to actually just have I think it's 2 ML5s. Yeah, it's a two ML5s each time it's rotated. And then they will not be providing coins for duplicate 4-star heroes. We kindly ask for your understanding on that issue. Understandable, it's fine. Drop rate up event. Are there any plans to shorten the drop rate up event rotation cycle? Will improvements be made to the group summon system? What's interesting is that in the group summon system in the Q&A video, it seems that even the devs didn't really like the group summon system, but I said this before, when the DN Landy and Cerise banner, the group summon, like that was the first time for us to see it, and I said I didn't like it, but apparently the video showcased that even some of the people in the dev team did not like it as well. So that's kind of good, but I already said that, you know, it's inevitable because the hero pool is increasing and there's just not enough dates in the year to be able to have them on a week-long basis. So what do you have to do? You have to group summon it. So it's interesting that in the writing form here, it feels like there's like a kind of a bipolar type of thinking here. So basically, they're talking about that the heirs want the drop rate for certain heroes, but then they don't have enough time. So to address this issue, we are currently discussing the ideas such as adding group summons for regular Covenant heroes or adding a new type of summon. So they're saying that, oh, we don't really like group summons, and but we're considering adding them for the regular Covenant heroes. So it's a bit of a conflicting thought, unless the translation is not the way they want to present it. What they're trying to say is that we're adding a new type of summon, But yeah, like I said, like I predicted, if you guys watch my videos and you don't miss anything, I predicted it during the group limited summons. I'm just like, yeah, it's bound to happen, like a Lencia Lilius Kron banner or something like that. It's bound to happen just because of the, like, if you want returning heroes and there's too many, you don't have enough time to like, you know, keep having the banner. So it's just easier to just group them all together, like a, you know, five hand-picked knights banner, right? Like blue Crow, blue Tywin, Charles, or whatever. Like that kind of, like, they could go with all types of themes. We see that in other gacha games, so I don't even blame Epic 7 for going down that line. And then it continues saying that we've developed the group summon system to address the issue where the too many limited heroes present in Epic 7. However, we recognize the preference for the system vary according to the different hero pools that our heirs have. Thus, we'll use regular drop summons as a rule of thumb for newly released heroes. So this is obvious, right? So like a focused banner like what we had from the beginning, that's normal. And then launch group summons only when there are special cases where multiple heroes and previous drop rate ups have been provided. So again, this is not saying that, you know, just for limited anymore. This is saying that, you know, it's for everything in the future. I'm not disappointed. Like I said, I've already accepted the fact when they released it the first time, I was about to vomit in my own mouth, and I said that as well. But you can't stop it. It has to be done. So, you know, it's good that they're just telling us, you know, kind of like the reasoning behind that as well. It's basically exactly the same thing that I just said. I said before. During this time, we'll have groups summon not just for limited heroes, but also for regular Covenant heroes. Right, so it's happening. Lastly, just as we conducted DN's drop rate up via ballots to our heirs, we'll have an occasional event where heirs will vote for a hero they want the drop rate up. We hope that our heirs can have the opportunity to summon heroes that many of the heirs want to summon. So the DN one, it's interesting that they still talk about this one. Because at that time, like, I know, you know, like, I love Epic 7, but at that time, like, I have to say that there's some like funny business going on when there is funny business going on. And when the DN ballot came out, like, for those who are watching this video and you know what I'm talking about, you will find this is funny too, because you agree with me. Most of you did. But it's just like, you know, who did you want to return? At that time, DN had only had one banner, the initial release, and this survey was for her re-release. Even though it was like the month before her annual release the previous year, they had this survey. Do you want DN to return? Do you want Bologna to return? We're talking about green Bologna. Do you want, I don't even remember the other ones. It was just like, basically it was DN, the only limited hero in the ballot, and everyone else wasn't. And of course people were gonna vote DN. I remember people were trolling and trying to vote something else. I think Tamarine was one of them too. Anyways, and of course DN came out and was like, yeah, we listened to our heirs. And I'm like, come on, you serious? Like, of course it's DN. Like, it was at a time when Epic 7 really needed positivity. It was at the time when people were rioting against Epic 7. I was never in the group that rioted against Epic 7, but even I saw that, and I'm like, oh, come on, you're trying to grab an easy win, but I'm not gonna fall for that, right? This won't be different. Based on their writing, it could be like, you know, non-limited heroes, right? So like, do you want Robbie to return? Do you want Crow to return? Like, these two right now are really, really good in terms of like the imprints for Last Rider Crow and Blue Crow, and then Robbie is very, very good self-defense imprint. So like, I can see that coming, and that would be more fair. But I just wanted to poke fun of the DN drop rate ballot, because that one was just way too scripted, if you know what I mean. We release different types of heroes, a shared summon schedule for known heroes. So this is okay. So here, I don't know what this N means. I think they were meant to be the like the dashes here, like above. I think, I'm not quite sure. So I didn't really know what that meant. But anyways, and also this wasn't a question. So will you release different types of heroes and share summon schedule for already known heroes? And it's a period. So this got me confused. Like, where does the question end and where does their statement begin in terms of the answer? I believe that this is the answer. So known hero schedule for Straze, Ilnav. I just got a follower following me even though I'm not streaming. They said to follow Shiryu-san. I got scared, man. I do these video recordings offline, but holy crap. Get over here, little fatty. schedule for Straze, Ilnaf, Senya, Rabbit, Kieran Skin, which we all saw in the preview notice video, the update preview notice video. We all saw that. If you watch that one, I clipped that video as well. But the Moonlight Kieran, so that was not discussed in the video. That's not discussed in the Q&A video portion. So definitely there's a lot of hidden gems in these writings. So definitely good. I mean, obviously Moonlight Kieran is inevitable, one of the ones that we're expecting, but we did see already the Moonlight Charles preview, Moonlight Cowrick preview, Straze of course we did see. And then schedule for new male hero specialty change Mercedes. Like that's cool. You know Mercedes is 4-star. So the very fact that if she gets a specialty change, like what does that mean to 4 stars, right? Like when I saw this, I'm like, whoa, this is really crazy. Like unless this is a mistake, because I mean the N formatting, unless this is a mistake, that's exciting to talk about. I don't want to speculate more on that because we don't have any confirmation. But if she's the first 4-star specialty change, are we going to be seeing more 4 stars specialty changed? That could be a game-breaking thing. Next level, right? Because if the 3-star specialty change is so good, the 4-star kits are already really solid with better base stats, then what are we gonna expect? So I'm very excited to see that. We have briefly revealed the heroes soon to come at Epic 7 in the preview video. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. So the Charles, Straze, ML Cowrick. Asking about new male heroes, so Asia and global server, new Suin heroes. Okay, so in episode 4, starting with the second half of the year, our heirs will be able to meet male heroes such as Voj's teacher, who taught him swordmanship, and other Suin heroes in the new continent. So there you go for people who like furries. Arena and World Arena. So not so big changes, but definitely a good roadmap in terms of like what we will expect, especially the upcoming preseason. So May 31st is the preseason, so that the Skyward season, the regular arena, is definitely coming to an end. So at least we got a kind of like a hint of this. So the blind day is going to be kept, and they're gonna revert the system in terms of the points back to the way it was before. So they're saying that the fixed 10 is the reason that the inflation in points has occurred. So basically if you're hitting a very high score hero, back to the original season, if you're hitting a high points hero and you win, you're gonna get more points on it. And if someone with a high points loses to a lower point, they're gonna lose a lot more points. So they're very, whatever. I mean, it's neither good or bad. I think it's just good for some people and bad for some others. I don't have any personal opinion in that matter. I'm not a super hardcore arena player anyway, yeah, so they just basically want to make these changes so to prevent some measures in arena, and it's permanent blind day now, permanent blind day for arena champion 5 and above. So that's kind of nice in my opinion. Furthermore, the inquiries regarding the area can predict the opponent's pick. So people were saying that they wanted kind of a blind day for RTA for World Arena. They wanted this to be kept in terms of like, they don't want a blind day. They want people to know exactly who they're fighting, so that you can, basically they're saying that this is one of the strategies for content. Players will be able to see like the stereotypes and the force bans and picks, and then maybe twist the stereotypes to different build a counter, and so it's kind of like the surprise. Yeah, you know what, I don't care about this either way. I see a pro and con for both sides. If they had taken the blind day approach for RTA, it's easier for just like the regular player to keep going, but I guess only the top players will keep facing the top players anyway. So like more likely than not, like even if you don't have their name, so therefore you don't know who they are, you don't know what hero they have built like faster than your hero or stronger than your hero, it wouldn't really matter in my opinion. I don't know, but the thing is that like I think for the competitive scene, it's more interesting to know who's up with them, and so that when they fight each other, they'll have a more competitive match. I mean, this is one of the things that I think the Epic 7 World Championship this time around people were complaining about, is that a lot of the top players, because of I guess what we call it, issues, weren't able to compete, and they, you know, most of the players that, you know, I talk with, and they're saying that, yeah, if those players that could have made it in, we would have had a more competitive and therefore a more fulfilling and entertaining event overall in terms of the RTA matches itself, not the trivia, not the side stuff. But, you know, yeah, so I don't have a big issue here. They are adding a new arena rank in the World Arena, and I do really agree with this. So I myself, I'm like a low champ player. I definitely don't consider myself high champ. Definitely not a legend material. But now they're gonna basically have, so the issue is that there was a large gap between among champion rank and the issue where many of our heirs did not try for legend rank. Their cutoff was way too high. So we hope that our heirs have a better job to accomplish in World Arena. So this is good in a couple ways. This will give the champion frame, or whatever the frame that is under the legend frame, whatever it will be more meaningful, right, to a smaller pool of players. So right now, like, you know, I even laugh at myself. This is the reason I don't use my champion frame. It really means nothing. You can have a champion player that is like extremely good, like as good as a legend player, but you can have a champion player has the champion frame that could be at, I don't know, challenger, maybe even master level. I'm not trying to be toxic. I'm just actually, I'm literally saying that's the case, and everybody knows this. Everybody knows this, but you have to admit it, right? So I myself, I would say that I'm definitely not, like, it depends on how they break it down. Like, is champion, like, is there a rank between champion and legend, or are they gonna make champion like the thing that is supposed to be the higher rank, and then there's like a mid, like a challenger 2, right? So like I would say like I'm maybe challenger 2 level, so I'm at that low bottom barrel champion rank, which I think is good. It's healthier for the game, for those who actually spend the time, you know, yes, time and effort in maintaining a higher rank. This would mean a much more to them, more exclusive, right? It's kind of like why people would push, you know, the top 30, top 100 in regular arena. Makes absolute sense. So absolute resistance. So question about removing of the absolute resistance in PvE content. So basically, long story short is that they're not really gonna do it, because it doesn't consume energy. It doesn't consume your actual entrance. Let's say Abyss, your labyrinth pass. No, not labyrinth. Sorry, Abyss pass, whatever. Abyss guide. Because it doesn't actually consume it. So there's like, it's fine. Of course, I understand this question. Like, for those of you who attend my live streams, you guys know how much I molded. If you were watching me on YouTube, you watched the VODs of me tackling Abyss, especially Abyss, I think 102 to 104. Like those ones, I included like all these like clips of me like just molding because of bad RNG. The issue is that Abyss is a long type of fight, and the way that Abyss has been designed, at least from floor 101 technically, 101 to 110, is that they're very RNG heavy, and that if you fail at any point to basically compound the RNG that you had up to the end point, you could literally fail the entire run. So you could spend like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then you could still fail. So I totally understand, and especially like hunt, like one shots. They were saying that, you know, like not fulfilling hunt one shot will save on your currency, right? Like it's kind of like a natural thing. It keeps people from over capping their energy too quick, and then therefore demanding more energy. Okay, alright, fine. But I think for the Abyss part, very molding, and of course the hunt ones, I mean, I'm no stranger to that as well. I tried to make a new Banshee one-shot video, and then Banshee resists on me 3 times in a row, captured on video, put out for you guys so that you guys can have a laugh. And the thing is, it happens to everyone, right? So, they're not removing it, but that's okay. They're basically saying that it's such a core fundamental in how they design their heroes. And I have to say, like, yeah, I mean, I know we're asking for just PvE content and not PvP, but it's saying that it's a core fundamental that if they remove it, it might just be something they break. But in my opinion, that's not like the full reason. That could be one of the reasons, but in my opinion, they just don't want to move on it. I think that they have a good reason for not moving on it, even though we may disagree. I don't mind the resistance at times. I just, when I'm molding, I wish I can just ignore resist. But obviously, you know, that is an emotional thing and not just a pure logical objective view, right? Content for new heirs, the new hero acquisition growth such as Penguin, Phantasma, and all that stuff. So this is up in the update preview notice. I won't talk about that too much since they don't even talk about it there. Operation side improvement. So anything that they're, so basically this is like their kind of like improvements on their communication with us. In my opinion, they're already doing a really good job. They're getting to bugs early, they're announcing it early, they're either giving us compensation for their mistakes, or they're, you know, they're jumping to it like right away. So very, very good. Yeah, not much I want to say there. Guild improvements, so new guild content. So we saw some of that in the update preview notice. So the PvE content, they call Ancient Relic, tentative name, will be released. So definitely check that out. It looks kind of like a board game, like the Epic 7 board game. I was mentioning that in the other video. Furthermore, we're planning to add functions of to facilitate guild recruiting and communication among guild members. I don't know what that looks like. So before we had those, like, you can leave a message for everybody. The guild I'm in, Iggy, they leave some inappropriate messages. Sometimes I don't read them, and then they make it onto my videos, which I didn't know until like a comment in the YouTube's, like, the comment section saying that that quote or whatever and whatever. And then last but not least, this is new. Guild Wars will now be expanded to 30 members instead of 28. So Guild Wars expanded to 30. That might mean not only just like the amount of players playing, but could be some changes to the Havoc system. They talked about potentially looking at rewards, but it's not really said here. I do hope that they are, but the very fact that they actually even covered this in terms of like even expanding it to 30, I'm hoping that they're thinking about just upgrading the rewards just slightly. All right, it's one of the things that is very demotivating for players who have played Guild War since day one, who are in the top 20 rank. You're gonna be fighting pretty much the same guild over and over. But if you lost the passion for Guild War, I know many top guilds who have top players in it. I won't name them in case I possibly offend them, but you know, I know a lot of people in them, and they're really nice, and they're RTA mains. Like they play RTA as their main thing, and they wanted to be a guild so that, you know, they could be in the same Discord, they do their guild war together, experiment with things together. Very, very nice, very healthy. And I know that Epic 7 sees that. They see that guilds are a place where players can bond together in smaller pods, and then of course we have the bigger, larger community pods. But yeah, so I'm very hopeful for that. I really do hope that reward improvements, they don't really expand here, but I do hope that that will come soon. I definitely think that Guild War is one of those things that they do not want to leave behind, in my opinion. So the next few portions should be pretty quick here. Catalyst, any plans to lower the difficulty obtaining Catalyst? They have some Catalyst updates. Also in the update preview notice, I'm not going to talk about that here. Disclosure of probability, so disclosure of rates of everything, pretty much anything that's like dropped or anything. I'm surprised that this actually made it into one of their questions. I didn't even know people were actually really wondering about this, to be honest. Like when I saw this, I'm like, does a lot of the community want to know? I didn't really think about that, to be honest, but currently waiting for policy decision at the corporate level regarding the disclosure of the drop rates for the equipment, catalysts, etc., and it will be applied to the game, to all game servers at the corporate level. We'll further inform our heirs about drop rate disclosure in the near future. Furthermore, we'd like to clearly reveal that there's no conditional rates affecting the next enhancement result depending on the previous enhancement when it comes to equipment enhancement. Like basically from a deduction of this statement, the furthermore, and it's so specific, it feels like people might have been complaining or thinking that there have been like kind of rigged systems in terms of like, okay, if you enhance 2 or 3 charms at the same time, maybe you'll get a greater enhancement or something. You know, the superstition that I do in my like viewer summons or my own summons, like 6969, and you know, it's unskippable. Like people who know me know what this means, but like it was for fun. But like, do people really think that that's not RNG, that's rigged. Interesting. It's interesting that when I read this, I'm like, okay, clearly they're addressing something that's very specific, right? The top is like very vague and the bottom is very specific. I'm like, interesting. So that was a issue or something that they wanted to talk about. Especially to change connection heroes, we'll see that in the update preview notice. And then intellectual properties and collaborations. They did make this statement in the live stream yesterday. I do feel that you know, Smilegate was put into a kind of a tight spot because like people were wanting the collab info and then they promised the collab info. The issue was like they, you know, the thing is though, like the partnerships and collaborations like this, stuff like this happens all the time. And I actually know this because of the kind of like the work I do. I know this happens, so I'm not too concerned about it. Sometimes last minute things will happen, and so we apologize. We cannot reveal the IP with which we are going to have the collaboration due to contract issues. So however, once the time comes, we will reveal them to our heirs without a moment of hesitation. So in terms of like when they can reveal it, they will reveal it. I know that some people were thinking like, well, does that mean that they lost the contract? I don't necessarily think that it means that. But in terms of like, there are certain collaborations, depending if it's a new IP or an old IP, it depends on how the other side deals with it. Like there's embargo dates, right? There's timing things, and we all know of games being delayed because of issues, like they're not finished or something. So we can't, like, there's no speculation here. There's not enough room to give us any speculation on it. Is this gonna be something anime related? Is this gonna be something like another game related? We can't, unfortunately. But of course, last night on my stream, I was saying like, oh yeah, the collaboration, no one talked about it because everybody was saying, what about the collab? What about the collab? And I was saying that, oh, so Smilegate gave us like this really sweet smoke screen with all the, like, you know, Straze and then ML Charles, all those videos. And then I totally forgot about the collab, to be honest. But I think people are too focused on it. So, I mean, given the time that they said that the collab was going to originally drop, which is in June, we still got a month. So, yeah, give it a couple weeks, guys. We'll probably hear something soon. And then furthermore, we are trying to strengthen our Epic 7 branding before diversifying our IPs. That's an interesting way to say this as well. It's like, it's almost as if they're saying that, oh, maybe the IP is not gonna happen, but I think it is. Otherwise, like, you know, why this part? Like, without hesitation, we'll let you guys know. But we'll gradually expand our business as Epic 7 IPs. With Epic 7 IPs, and now we're manufacturing the merchandise and board game via contract. In the long run, we are planning for the secondary work to Epic 7. I don't know what that means. I was reading that multiple times. If you guys know what that means, let me know. I don't think I know. I can't predict it, but it seems that they want to strengthen themselves even more as intellectual property. So that's good. I mean, E7 is doing a really good job, and I think it's catching a lot of people's attentions. I know that there's other streamers who don't play Epic 7 who play games like Epic 7, but they talk about Epic 7 in terms of they compare their main game to Epic 7. So that's actually a good thing to see. So the very last point, other inquiries. Let me wrap this up really quick. The difficulty level for episode 3, they're going to look at the curve adjustment, or adjusting the difficulty curve for the remaining parts of episode 3 and episode 4, so that we have a favorable experience. That's what I said. I said this before when I fought Mort and Senya. I almost near molded. I did have to bring a fully built team. No fodders, of course. Are there any plans to update Guardians? That was in the update preview notice as well. We don't know what that will look like yet, but they are planning to do that, so that's pretty good. And the very last thing is that any plans to release Epic 7 for PC, and their answer is that the Una engine is optimized for the mobile environment, so it's difficult for them to convert to the PC client right now. They cannot prioritize this as part of their work. So fair enough. That's very good. So they have a lot of stuff that is answered, and I think this Q&A really works as this like very good roadmap. And again, if you haven't watched the video in terms of the Q&A video, I think it was, again, well done, well edited, so definitely worth checking out. In terms of my video recording, I'm going to end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.